This is an oral history interview conducted for the Witness to War, Serving a Nation project at Nauset Regional High School in Cape Cod, Massachusetts. For the sake of this interview, please state your full name and community in which now you reside.
My name is Robert Linton, Jr. I live in Wellfleet, Mass.
How did you come to live on Cape Cod?
My girlfriend's father and mother had a house down here, and they took sick and they passed away, so I had to come down and take care of her father for a while.
When did you first know you wanted to join the military?
I never wanted to join the military.
Were you drafted or did you enlist?
I got drafted. They came to my house and asked me 2 questions, would you come with me? And I left with them.
What is your best child memory?
I was a really child, so I played men. I didn't play basketball and stuff like that at an early age, like 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. I played men up until then. Cowboys. I didn't like army men.
Do you have any memories of war growing up, Cold War / Korea?
No, my father used to always put the news on, and he would tell me to watch it, but I wasn't too much interested in the news.
Were any of family members in the forces?
My father was. He was in the Navy.
How did you feel about getting drafted?
I was very upset. I just had graduated. So then the summer, and then the next year I had to go into the military. I was very upset.
What branch did you go into?
It's kind of complicated. I got drafted in the Marines, and then my mother did some research, so I joined the Air Force so I wouldn't have to go to Vietnam, if that makes sense to you.
Did you have any interest in war or war history as a kid?
No, not really. When we used to do history, I just read it. I wasn't fascinated by all that stuff.
What was your first day of service like / getting sworn in?
The first day at the Air Force Base, the training, it was miserable. It was hot. They shaved all my hair off with the same blade that they use everybody else. They gave me needles in the arms at the same needles that they gave everybody else. It was horrible.
Where was the training camp?
Lackland Air Force Base in Texas.
What was your training like?
I went in for air traffic controller, and they needed bodies for Vietnam after I found out. So I went in, they put me into security police. So I was like an MP, but they called security police in the Air Force.
What was your uniform and equipment like?
Okay, first of all, you had to go through a training, and then after that, they issued my uniform was fatigues and an M16 and a 45 on my side.
Could you please describe what an M16 and a 45 is?
An M16 is a rifle where you put a magazine and you put it into the gun. It shoots automatic, and a 45 is a revolver, and it has a clip, and you put it in, and it shoots bullets.
Where were you first stationed?
I started to go to Korea, and in mid-air, they have these big airplanes that they refuel in the air. They changed our plans, and we went to Korea. So my first stop was Korea, and I stayed in Korea for 13 months.
What year was this?
This was in 1970.
What were the places like, the culture / the atmosphere?
It was interesting with the Koreans because I always have respect for older people, and they have a dialogue where the older people, you speak to them as an upper dialogue. In other words, you don't speak to them in a kind of slang to the older people. So I got along with the Koreans. I mean, I was there for a job.
Where was the most interesting / beautiful place you saw in Korea, and do you have any stories about being there?
Oh yeah, Punsan. The beaches in Korea were beautiful. Oh, yeah, real beautiful. Busan. Yeah, and I went to Kunsan. That's the capital, and that was interesting.
Could you describe the scenery?
The
Of them?
scenery. Well, most of Korea, a lot of rice paddies and stuff like that. But when you go to Seoul, Seoul is the Korea. I mean, is the capital. Seoul, they have the houses, and it's all built up, and it's all pretty colorful because they paint things. It's really nice.
During that time, did you ever see combat?
Once or twice. I was in an area where you got combat pay and hazard duties pay, which means that you can come under fire at any time.
What was that like? Could you please elaborate?
In a way, it's kind of scary in the beginning, and then you get immune to it. So, like in the beginning, I'm like, I'm dressing when it's a bomb scare. Why am I dressing? But I'm trying to get my boots on, I'm trying to get my clothes on. And then after a while, you get used to it, and you just go right for your rifle and hit the door, Well, we were stationed in tents. We were staying in tents.
Were you expecting what you saw?
I seen a little bit on TV, but to be there, it's different.
What was your worst memory about being in Korea?
The racism. It was real bad. Like they had different sections where blacks would live, and then when we went to fight, we were all together. I couldn't understand that part.
What was your proudest moment while serving?
Wow, I wasn't too. I really play it down to let people know that I was in the service. But the proudest moment while serving, coming home, meeting my mother and father, and it was over.
Where else did you go?
I went to Korea, then I went to Vietnam, TDY, and then I went to Spain. I did some TDY in Guam. I spent 360 days, what was I do? 3 years and 6 months overseas. I never came home because I didn't want to come home and be in the riots, because the army men used to do the riots in our city. So I didn't want to have to fight my own people.
Could you explain the riots a little more?
Yeah, the riots were mainly about different people's ideas. I was a Black Panther, so we used to help the people in our community try to get food and stuff like that, and their rights and stuff like that. And they had a lot of activists, like you had Malcolm X out there, you had Martin Luther King, so there was a lot of stuff going on at that time, for me.
Did you ever meet any of the men that you just described to us?
No.
How were you treated by others?
I lived in Cambridge, so our community was white and black, so I didn't have any problems being treated in my community. But once out of the community, you would have problems.
Were you treated differently than the others?
Who
Like
the oth-
from white and black?
Yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah.
Can you explain to us?
You have to go to different facilities. If you went to go register somewhere, they would tell you to move over here and have the white person go over here.
Do you have
yeah.
any stories?
Wow, I got a lot of stories. But the one I remember was Emmett Tillman. He went down south and he said something to a white lady and he got killed. And he was around my age, and it really scared me. It really scared me.
Were you ever threatened at all by any white person?
By the police. By the police, yeah.
Did the military change you as a person?
I really think so. I really think so. You know, as far as being more laid back and cautious about what's going on, because I was like, you know, more anxious to get into stuff now as being in the military. I'm more sure about myself. You know, I don't have to, you know, really invite myself to be into that situation that's up.
How do you think your family was affected by you going into service?
Oh, they were devastated. I was the only boy, so you know, every day was real hard for them. I had one sister. We had a friend that went over. He never came back, and the mother wanted the body, so they were devastated. They were, you know.
What was your father in the military?
I didn't know what he did. He was on the ship. That's all I know. He never talked about it.
Did you keep in touch with your families overseas?
Oh yeah, I wrote every day.
What are your views on war today?
If you can't talk, then let's stop and then think about it and then come back tomorrow. I can't really see killing people.
A lot of soldiers who fought in Vietnam were drafted. What were your views on the draft?
I thought the draft was bad because, well, coming from that part of the era that, you know, with the Martin Luther King and all that era, it was like they, you know, they took all the poor. Most of the poor people were fighting. You know, when I got over there, that's what most of them were, you know.
Who had the greatest impact on you while you were in the service? Any story about this person?
Malcolm X. Malcolm X. I went to see Malcolm X, and I went to go see Malcolm X in Harlem, and that night something happened with the Panthers, and the next day he got shot. So that really sticks on my mind because I never got to see him.
Does he still influence you today?
A lot of his beliefs, yeah.
What beliefs?
Well, that we can live together, and that, you know, everybody believes if you're human, you know, treat humans like humans. You know, Malcolm X did like a 180 change about black power, and, you know, he includes everyone.
Do you feel like the military changed you as from a child to an adult? Like,
Real fast,
really?
real fast, because there's no one there going to take care of you.
Did any of the older men, like, ever teach you things?
Oh yeah, everyone looks after you. Everyone looks after you. You know, white and black. Once you go in country, what do you mean by in country? When you're in the combat area, they will let you know
Do
Yeah.
you have any stories?
Well, I have a story. I have a friend that that we grew up together, and he was white, and we met in Korea, and the stuff was so bad in Korea that we used to meet at night and talk about Cambridge and everything. And we used to have a good time. And then I would let him leave first because we couldn't be seen together. But we used to have a good time. I'm laughing now because it was a good time. No one ever caught us.
Do you still know him? Is he still alive?
No, he passed away. But I knew him when I came home. Yeah, I definitely knew him.
If you could go back in time, would you still have joined the forces?
If I joined anything, I would definitely want to be guaranteed what I was going to be, like you have now in the military. You go in, you get your college thing, you know. But other than that, I don't think I have any use to
Was it good
fighting.
or bad in your life?
When you say in my life, my whole childhood
Just like,
in the military,
yeah.
it was bad. I was glad to get out, put it that way.
What was the first thing you did when you got home?
The first thing I did, I remember taking the plane. I got to Logan, and I took my uniform off, and I left it there. And my mother and father were waiting for me, and they were wondering what was happening because I was changing it. And we went home from there, and they took me out to eat. We usually don't go to restaurants, but we went to a restaurant, so I thought that was pretty cool.
What restaurant did you go to?
It was this big restaurant in Revere, Steakhouse or something, like, if I'm not mistaken. It's called Steakhouse. It was a big thing out there in Revere. They took me there. Everybody was there. My friends were there. Everybody was there.
Could you please tell us more about your mom and dad?
My mother was, she laid down the law. My father was just there for ornaments. But my mother, she was into politics, She got me all my jobs, In the ghetto, they always say, you're a mama's boy. You ever hear that? I'm one, Her mother say jump, I say how high.
What about your dad?
My dad was low key, They didn't abuse me. I didn't get beat like a lot of the kids in the neighborhood. I always got told what to do. My father was a hard worker. He was the only man in the project because all the other families didn't have husbands. My father was the only one on our floor.
Were they a big influence in your life?
My father was and my mother. Yeah, exactly.
Tell us about your family now.
I have three children. I have our oldest girl, and I have another daughter that has a grandson, and then I have a son. And we all keep up. They all know who I am. They come down and visit me. And I have a stepson with my girlfriend. His name is David. He's a wonderful kid.
Did you earn any awards or accolades during the war?
No. Only thing I got, I sewed my stripes on early. You don't get sergeant stripes in the first year, and I did. So they told me not to sew them on until I left. So that's about the biggest, because that was like an achievement to them. They brought me up into the office and said, this is something different. We have to look at this because you made sergeant too soon.
Can you tell us more about the Stars and Stripes?
Not really. What do you want to know about the stars?
Like, why did you get them early?
Tests. See, in the Air Force, you got to take tests. It's not about how good you look. You got to take tests. And that's all I did, because I was so scared. So at night, I wouldn't go out. I didn't drink. I wasn't into anything. So I would just at night just study the books. The guys would go downtown and get into stuff. My first year, I was so scared. I just did the books. Yeah.
What do you do now?
Right now, I'm retired. I was a substance abuse counselor for about 18 years. When I came out the war, I was looking for people, and they were all in jail and on drugs, so I decided to be a counselor. But right now, I'm just working with the Wellfleet Rec Department, and I coach.
What do you coach?
I coach basketball, soccer. I was coaching baseball. I coach them all. We don't have a football program. And I run the skate park in the summertime.
Do you have any stories about when you were a substance counselor?
Substance abuse counselor. Oh, I have many stories. I went down for Obama's inauguration, and I was on the train, and there was a bunch of guys with me from the DNC. That's the Democratic National Committee. We was all on the train. We took a train down there, and this girl comes up, and she was blonde. I have to describe blonde, blue eyes, and she says, was 4 guys sitting there, including myself. She says, "Can I talk to you?" And I was like, "Who, me?" She said, "Yeah, you. Could you come back here?" So I went back into another car. She said, "You see this?" And I went, "Yeah." It was a big ring. I mean, it was flashing. And she said, "This is because of you." And I was like, and my whole body just like, whew. And she says, "Yeah, you was in the detox, and you was the director of the detox, and I remember listening to you, and I got myself together, and I was like, wow." I get stories like that in Wellfleet too. I don't say names because you're not supposed to.
Do you have any stories about coaching?
Oh yeah, I got little girls in front of me right now that I had coached. The first time I got to Wellfleet for coaching, they said, "You're gonna coach?" I said, "I have no problem." They said, "You're gonna coach girls," and I was like, "Girls? I never coached girls. I always coached boys when I was in Cambridge." And I had these girls, and I called them Barbies because these girls would not touch the ball. They wouldn't catch the ball. They came in with all this stuff. I mean, it was the cutest thing because after a while, they brought into my program, and then these girls started winning. And I won the championship the first year I coached, and I was so happy.
When you coached in Cambridge, was it any different from coaching down here?
Not really. Children's attention span is children's attention span, no, it wasn't. It's just that I was doing boys, and I never coached girls, so.
Are you still in touch with any of the girls from the winning team?
Oh, yeah. I still live here in Wellfleet, and I see them. They're like ladies. I'm scared to have them in my car because someone will think that I'm trying to pick them up because now they're grown.
How does serving in the military impact your coaching?
Communication skills. You got to communicate in the military. You had to communicate to stay alive. So, yeah, it helped me with that. Being with a whole bunch of people, like in these arenas that we go to play basketball and stuff like that, it helped me with that.
Do you have any stories about any communication fails during your serving?
Yeah, one time we supposed to have left an area, and not a lot of people, they didn't get out. Just to make it, I'll just tell you, they didn't get out. So, like, you know, the communication was wrong, and people got hurt. So,
How did you honor the people who died while you were in service?
um, I remember them. Veterans Day is a big day to me. I made my I didn't make, but I asked my children to let them know, like, that's like my birthday. So they give me gifts. They call me every Veterans Day.
Does having served in the military want you to have a fuller life, or do you drive to accomplish goals?
The military just told me regimen, how to be, you know. To be honest with you, I still fold my underwear like the military. You know, I still keep my clothes like the military. My girlfriend, you know, she brought her mother in the house one day and said, "Look at his clothes, everything." So yeah, it sticks with you if that's what you mean. Yeah, but I was always neat anyway, so it just helped me out.
Heading back into serving, do you have any least proud stories?
Least proud stories?
Like any stories that you were not proud of or something that might have happened?
In Korea, we asked for certain black products, and they wouldn't give it to us, and we kept asking and asking, and so then we went to the commanding office, and all of us, well, we all had weapons, and we started talking to them, and it got kind of heated, but near the end, they did send in picks. That's what we was trying to get, picks for our hair, and cocoa butter and cream that we use, stuff like that. And it got kind of hairy. I'm not proud of that, but it got kind of hairy. We demonstrated and stuff like that.
What is the first thing you think about when you hear the word Korea?
Somebody's carrying something. A courier?
Korea.
Oh, a Korea. I said carrier. Oh, Korea. My career? I'm pretty satisfied with what I did. I'm okay with what I did. You know, wasn't the best, you know, but I can live with what I did.
Do you know why your father never talked about his experience?
He was upset with the whole military. He's definitely trying to get me out. So yeah, he was definitely upset with that.
Which war was he in?
I don't think he was. I think he served on the ship. I can't say. I wouldn't do it justice. I don't know. My father never talked about it. He really did not like it.
What were the people like, the locals of the villages that you went to?
Okay, the first ones, the Koreans. That was my first stop, and to see a whole place where everyone looks alike was kind of scary. It was kind of scary. Vietnam, you know, you just couldn't trust them. You know, they weren't trustable at that time for me, because, like, you know, I would hear stories that they would tell black soldiers, "Okay, this is not your war. Get up," and then you get up and they shoot you down. So, you know, Guam, that was a workplace where we just kept working and working, and the people there were, they really, they liked the Americans, but they would always try to hustle on you and stuff like that. Spain was nice. When I got to Spain, it was nice. The people were nice, They had the early set and the late set where the young kids would come out, and the early set and the late set, the older people would come out. So they had it all registered right and everything. It was nice.
Did you think of them as any enemy?
Oh, yeah. Korea, Vietnam. Oh, yeah, them two places.
Can you describe a little more about what they did for you to think of them as an enemy?
All right, I used to get on, they call it a kimchi bus. It's a bus that used to go into the base and come out of the base, and they call it a kimchi bus. It's like a school bus to you all. And they would get on the Koreans would get on the bus, and they would have food and animals and all this other stuff. And they're not supposed to have anything on them that's United States, so they used to smuggle stuff off the base. This lady, she had something, and she jumped up, and we got into a confrontation, and that was kind of hairy. They will always be trying to steal something from the mess hall or something, because they needed the food, so they would, But we were the ones that was trying to stop them.
Thank you very much.
I appreciate that, ladies. Did a good job. I wish I had heard